Hello everybody, hope you're having a good afternoon. Gonna cast a game on Scrap Station between Adellscott as our orange, I guess you call him orange Protoss player, and he's versus, mouzMaNa, a red Protoss player, so we got a PvP. I've been playing a little bit of Protoss lately the past 2 days on ladder, and PvP is definitely my worst matchup out of every single race, and Mana trying to hide a gateway with the intention, I would assume, of so that when his opponent does scout him, he will go crazy and think, oh my god, I'm getting proxied by some gateways. When in actuality, he's not. So I guess he's just messing with his opponent a little bit. And Mana going for a gas, so definitely not going to see any type of really crazy stuff going on from him. I'm just playing a little bit of mind games with Adellscott. And Adellscott not going for a gas as soon, so definitely a different little bit of a play here. And unfortunately, like I said, PvP is not my best matchup at all. I think it's my worst matchup by far, so definitely trying to do this replay for one, for entertainment value for you guys, and two, just to understand what is going on here in this matchup. So I do know that, you know, if your opponent goes for a second gateway quickly, that you definitely need to add a second gateway quickly, just because of the fact that they can pump out a bunch of zealots and run into your base and kill everything. But this map is a little bit different because it's such a long rally distance, so kind of confused why he went with that second gateway so soon, as opposed to getting an assimilator up. Chrono boosting out some probes. So yeah, getting that assimilator up, pumping and going. And Mana has a bunch of chrono boost saved up, so he may be saving that for a warp gate and go for some type of super quick warp gate rush. And there we got the chrono boost going down, and that's definitely something you want to look for. I know that for a fact. Is when you scout your opponent, see what they're spending their chrono boost on. That's definitely usually a look into their strategy, what they spend their chrono boost on. That's what they're trying to focus on. And we saw Adellscott spend the majority of his chrono boost on probes just to pump that economy. You can see the economy difference, 22 to 18, so definitely a sizable difference just from chrono boosting. And finally getting that cybernetics core out, he's just pumping a bunch of zealots out. I think this is a pretty safe opening by Adellscott. You just pump a bunch of zealots out and get a little bit later cybernetics core, but you do get a very large economic lead. But he does keep his minerals low by spending it on that extra gateway and on those extra zealots at the beginning. We'll probably see him get warp gate here in a second as soon as that pops up. Just pumping out. Now he's switching over to stalkers. Definitely gonna have to get those ranged units out there. You can't use just the zealots in PvP just because, at least as far as mid game goes, and early game, just because stalkers can out micro zealots all day long just because they're faster movement speed, and of course their range. So now with that one zealot out, he does have map control, and he can basically push around these zealots all day long. But no, running across that, using that smoke screen, he walked straight into those zealots, and they tagged him, almost got rid of all the shields, and even throwing up an expansion. Wow, so Adellscott going for some type of really huge economy play into just a lot of zealots for defense, and stalkers just playing really defensive. And it looks like Mana isn't going to have any of that. Mana is going to go for a 4-gate all-in, one off one assimilator, so we probably won't see as many. Oh, and actually scouting it, so if Adellscott can crush this pylon before those units come out, that's going to be huge. And the pylon does finish, and he's going to warp in any units. Probably not going to warp in any units. It'd be a bad decision because he's going to kill that pylon before those units finish warping him. No, he's warping him in anyway. Warping in 2 zealots, 4 stalkers here, pushing from the bottom. And oh no, he does cancel that, so he's not going to have any reinforcements. So 4 on 3 on 2, so wow, a lot more zealots. And it looks like Mana is going to be fought back here. He's only going to have 4 stalkers versus 4 stalkers. And that focus fire of the Adellscott is going to be able to really hurt Mana. So Mana's pressure there just kind of just fell apart with this position of that proxy pylon. It may have been safer to put it maybe down here somewhere, or a little bit down here. You really don't want to put your proxy pylon ahead of your army whenever you're going out for a push, because stuff like that happens. And Adellscott has this really well thought out build. It's working out pretty good for him, transferring some probes. So man, at this point, Adellscott just wants to play defense. He doesn't even have to attack. You just sit back, relax, pump units so hard, and just let your economy win the game for you. And at this point, Mana is kind of has to all in. He could go for an expansion, but he'd be so far behind that Adellscott could push with the Colossus so much quicker and just crush him. And having his units on hold, he's going to have a fight now. It's really going to come down to micro. He really needs to pick off those stalkers. They will do the most of the damage in this fight. So is he actually going to micro back and lose the stalkers? Man, unfortunately, he has to run away from the zealots. And there we have some units warping in from behind, warping in some zealots, warping in a stalker. And if he can really focus fire and kill down those stalkers, Mana may actually get this win, but Adellscott getting 3 more units and quite a bit of warp gates. So yeah, he's on like 5 warp gates now, so you can actually outproduce him with that extra gateway. So that 1 extra gateway may actually come into play here very soon. Warping in some more zealots, and it looks like the army size is actually trending more towards Adellscott's just because of that economy. Warping in some more units now, back and forth. Let's check the economy. Huge economy difference, 31-19. Mana might as well pull all his probes at this point, because he's just, unless some extreme micro comes into play here, I think Adellscott is going to be able to win this. Warping in 5 zealots all at once to be able to deal with these stalkers is going to force them to fall back. Kind of just A-moving in there with those zealots. And actually, what is he doing? He's not even really A-moving. It looks like he's just kind of pushing him away. Warping in more zealots from Mana. Wow, this is kind of going back and forth. I'm surprised Adellscott hasn't crushed this already. Warping in some stalkers. There we go. Now he's getting some stalkers and zealots. I think he warped in a few too many zealots with that last push. Just microing back, and if he can have equivalent micro of Mana and just kind of trade armies a little bit more efficiently, he should be able to win this just from macro alone. Getting a second assimilator, and just kind of focus fire going down on the stalkers. You really just want to pick off stalkers because they deal the majority of the damage. Zealots just kind of force your opponent to have to micro, and pulling probes also, and getting some more zealots. Basically, zealot stalker fight. Throwing up a photon cannon, that'll help a little bit. If you get that photon cannon up, that'll definitely secure his expansion. I think he can warp in over here. Nope, not far enough. But more zealots, more stalkers coming. Another fight going on. Micro. Adellscott really not paying attention there. Oh man, he's losing way too many units in this fight. Oh my gosh, it looks like, is he going to lose this? He needs another warp in. He needs to warp in. He's got no money. That photon cannon may not have been the wisest idea, because that is essentially the cost of a stalker. And Adellscott is completely broke. Is he warping any more units? Just 1 stalker. And oh man, Adellscott GGing. Wow, so Mana taking that victory. I think there were some times whenever he pushed, when a Mana pushed, he got a lot of free shots off. Adellscott kind of had his units on hold control, and he just focus fired so much better. So Mana definitely out-microing Adellscott there. I'm surprised, how did he not win that? He's got 5 gateways. He has a huge economy advantage over him. I think it just came down to micro and better army composition, because at one point Adellscott warped in like 5 zealots, and it just pushed these stalkers back. And it really just didn't accomplish anything. And if he would have had that as like less zealots and more stalkers in that composition, it may have actually worked out a little bit better for him. So I definitely like the opening from Adellscott. I think it has possibilities. Maybe make it a little bit safer. Don't expo as soon. Maybe get those gateways up. Get your 4 gateways up and then expo, because you do have that huge economic lead. You can just safely build a big army and then go from there, then expand. But wow, Mana just applying the pressure. I thought he was going to lose it after that first push failed, but he just went all in with it and it worked. So congrats to Mana. Hope you guys enjoyed this PvP, learning some PvP like me, and I'll see you later.